Breakup, divorce, disillusionment, just feeling lost. Is your life broken? If so, welcome to the club. Or I should say, the record club. Alright, I'm going to go through some albums that predominantly feature an exquisite amount of pain and anguish, and in some cases, healing and redemption. If this sounds good for what's ailing you, hang on. Here we go. Starting off with two from 1963. This first album is pretty much the quintessential Heartbreak album. Dionne Warwick, Anyone Who Had a Heart. Starting from the title track all the way through Don't Make Me Over, I Cry Alone, Getting Ready for the Heartbreak, Oh Lord, What Are You Doing to Me, Mr. Heartbreak, Put Yourself in My Place, I Could Make You Mine, This Empty Place, Please Make Him Love Me. Based on those titles, you would expect this to be a devastating album, and it exceeds expectations. The title track will get you hooked, and from there in on, it's nothing but the gorgeous arrangements of these songs and Dionne Warwick's unparalleled emotional singing. Next one, also from 1963, Brenda Lee, Let Me Sing. Now, if you've never listened to Brenda Lee and you've seen her records sometimes in the bargain bins and you think maybe she's just a pop vocal singer from the late 50s, early 60s, don't be fooled. Brenda Lee was not just a firecracker. I think she was only 14 when her first album came out, but she was incredibly deep emotionally, and many of her songs reflect this, but this album in particular is knockout after knockout of heartbreak songs. I made the mistake one time at a party of putting this record on, and I was asked to take it off because everyone was getting sad. So if you really want to go there, try this album, Brenda Lee, Let Me Sing.
Deep as any ocean, then one day, like the tide, you began to change, and you became a perfect stranger.
Alright, next, can't really do this video without at least having a blues album on here, because really the blues is what it's all about, alright? This is Lightnin' Hopkins, Hootin' the Blues from 1964. This is a live performance, pretty much him and acoustic guitar just diving deep into these songs, and I think the liner notes here on the back say it all. It says, the instrumental work on this piece conveys in stunning fashion through its undertones and dark shadings some of the loneliness and anguish inherent in the blues, the crying, torment, and the urgency, which are such integral parts of the blues, are highlighted by the narrative text and the guitar work. Well said and very true for this. I think Lightnin' Hopkins and Mississippi John Hurt, possibly my favorite blues artist, can't go wrong with either of them.
I still love me or leave me, baby. Either one you wanna do. You know last night I lost the best friend I ever had.
Okay, this is one of of 3 classic divorce albums from the 1970s that I will mention in this video. To me, this is a masterpiece. Sure, it's got some bitterness and even sarcasm in here. It starts out, here's your divorce. This is what you wanted, right? But the songs really reflect on the goodness of the experience of the relationship and the beauty of life and looking forward after the experience of divorce. So if you haven't heard this in its entirety, it's a double album. It's quite an experience. Marvin Gaye, Here My Dear. What can be said about Joni Mitchell Blue that has not been said already? This record is quickly becoming one of the most sought after records in all of music, and for good reason. Through Joni Mitchell's vast and diverse discography, this point in her life, she had somehow figured out how to perfectly describe what it means to be a human being with feelings in a variety of situations, including relationships, travel, career, children. It's all in here, pretty much. This is life in one record. And she not only describes it beautifully, but the way that she sings is so heartbreaking that you cannot help but feel connected to Joni Mitchell when you listen to this record. Joni Mitchell, Blue.
So you write him a letter and say, her eyes are blue. He sends you a poem and she's lost to you. Just before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, constant in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar.
Joni Mitchell Blue and this record pretty much go hand in hand. This record starts off with Tangled Up in Blue, which may or may not be a reference to Joni Mitchell's record, but in any case, this is as close as Dylan ever got to a divorce album, which means that the songs are full of longing, reflection, hope, regret, everything that you feel when you're coming out of a relationship and you're not sure where you're going to go next. It's all here. And Dylan's one of his great gifts as a songwriter is that he elevates the subject. In many cases, it's a crazy mix of his own personal experiences and what he observes in other people's experiences, just blended together into his songs, but in a way that gives great respect to the feelings involved in those experiences and also dignifies the audience, the listener, because he trusts that you will understand, that you will relate to his own heart being laid bare and his own honest reflection on what he sees as other people's experiences and what those mean to them. So that's a very complex way of describing this album, but the point is, if you can get through this album without feeling a deep connection to Dylan, then you don't have a heart, because this is where it all gets raw.
I can't feel you anymore. I can't even touch that box you read.
record is not on everyone's list of the greatest albums of all time, but I love this record. This is, I believe, Joe Cocker's 4th studio album. This was released in 1974, and it was kind of a get back to the roots of soulful music and a lot of keyboard-based ballads. Jimmy Webb was involved with this. Nicky Hopkins played piano on, I believe, 3 of the tracks. And just songs that will make you feel like someone understands. Joe Cocker, I Can Stand a Little Rain.
I can stand a little rain. I can stand a little rain. I can stand a little pain. But when the rain comes through the floorboards, I can stand a little rain. I can stand a little sorrow. I can stand till tomorrow. I can stand a little strife. Just another taste of life. I can stand a little love. I can stand a little love.
Okay. Can you really talk about the dark side of love without talking about this album? Yes, this album is probably tainted by Eric Clapton's possible toxicity as a person, but is it saved by the angelic involvement of Bobby Whitlock and Duane Allman? Probably, but whatever the background of this record, it is undeniably cathartic to listen to and undeniably will take you all the way down to the bottom where you need to be so that you can see the way up. And for me, the songs that really bring this home are Any Day, Little Wing, the title track, and the breath at the end, which is Thorn Tree in the Garden. But all the songs in between are brutal performances by this little band that only existed for this album, and you just can't talk about heartbreak and longing without considering this album. Derek and the Dominos, Layla.
I need your love, babe. Please don't make me wait. Tell me it's not too late.
Alright, let's talk about Linda Ronstadt. She was recording albums with the Stone Ponies in the late 60s, and then in 1970 she released her utterly devastating performance of the song Long Long Time, which is one of the greatest heartbreak songs and greatest heartbreak records ever made. And then on subsequent albums she continued to hint at that strength of really just taking you completely down with tearjerker songs, including on her breakthrough album Heart Like a Wheel, which featured Dark End of the Street, Faithless Love, and the hits You're No Good, When Will I Be Loved. But for me, the record I want to talk about is Hasten Down the Wind from 1976. This is where she was not only completely white hot as a singer, her performances in the studio are just absolutely breathtaking, and the choice of material on this record in particular tells a story of someone who is lost and hurting and not sure where to go. Alright, hope you like this video about beautiful records for a broken life, and please let me know in the comments which records have been important for you in getting through breakup, divorce, heartbreak, any kind of difficulty in your life, records that have made a difference or helped you heal or change your life. And just remember, as long as you have music, you're never alone. Thanks everyone. See you next time.
Still I can't keep from wondering if I still